Broadcasting from Ireland, featuring interviews with some of the biggest names in magic. Welcome to the Deceive Reality podcast with your hosts, David Peace and Steve Spade.
And we're back. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. It only took us 3 months this time to come back. Yay. But we actually have a few people lined up now. Yeah, we had a summer break from our one podcast this year. But we have a few people lined up over the next few weeks and months. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and like. But Steve, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you? All good?
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a very special guest. We have Allan from the Sleight Co. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks very much for inviting me on and stuff.
Good having you, man.
Saying I was the first Irish guest, which is amazing. So
Yeah.
There we go. We were holding out. We were holding out for you, man. We were holding out.
Yep.
Yeah,
So the
we've
fun
been
gets open now
discriminating.
for all the other Irish magicians to come on and join us. You know.
Yeah. Exactly.
As long as they have their own podcast and magic store, then they're more than welcome to come on. That's the barrier for entry. We're gonna have to set up. That's how you buy it.
Well, that's one of the reasons. Like I did start the Sleight Co because there is no magic shops in both Northern Ireland or, as far as I know, Ireland anymore. Is there?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
there's none. Yours is the only one on the island, really. So,
Yeah.
like it's literally like an all-purpose magic shop.
And that's sort of the reason that I did set it up, because Northern Ireland has this really strange law called, I think, the Windsor Framework. So we can send stuff to Ireland, the EU, and the UK without all that, tricky paperwork and hidden fees that you might get from other places. So that's sort of a big back reason why, I started the Sleight Co as well. It was about time.
Cool.
Northern
So
Ireland, Ireland
you're
had a
all
magic
for
shop.
you're all for Brexit. You're like, yeah, Brexit. Fuck yeah.
Business. Get it going.
Nice.
But to jump back for yourself, and we kind of ask everyone at the beginning where did your interest or obsession, addiction with magic come from?
Probably from a young age. I was maybe about 11, 12, and my granddad was sort of into magic through his cousin, who actually worked in a magic shop in Belfast called the Magic Box. So he was in the Magic Box, and then from then it's just been a love of it. And then I joined the Ulster Society of Magicians, and I became the youngest chairman of the Ulster Society of Magicians as well. So I think I was about 18 at the time, and then I just fell out of love with magic and just disappeared after that. And then it was only during COVID, like a lot of magicians, I always sort of had that interest that, still carried along. And then when COVID hit, I just started consuming more and more magic. And then now I'm sort of here.
Where was that shop in Belfast originally? I never
It
heard
was
of that.
Smithfield Market.
Oh,
called the
okay.
Magic Box. So
Cool.
I think it was there for years and years. So
There was one in Limerick where I'm from for years. It was like the main one for all of Ireland, I think, or the south of Ireland for sure, for the longest time. Run by Paddy Clancy, or as we called him, Paddy Magic. And but it was a great. He did have like the Royal Road. He had he had all the Bobo magic books, all that stuff. But they were kind of like I remember the first time going in there asking about and he was like, where did you hear about that? Who told you about that? So there was that fucking man, it's just a plastic thumb. Chill the fuck, But there was there was that about the old school brick and mortar shops where it was very cloak and daggerish,
yeah.
If you couldn't do like a shitload of pharaohs, you couldn't come in or something,
And the problem with magic back then as well is just the way it looked and stuff. Like you couldn't see something on a shelf and be like, "Oh, what's that?" It didn't look pleasing either. It was just, this printed pink page, with a really terrible font on it, in a Ziploc bag, and you just, stuff like that wasn't really appealing to people. So.
And the best thing was like, what does that do? And they're like, I don't know. That it was like,
you just sort of hope that he could lift it out and perform it to you, or if not, he was like just reading the instructions. So, whereas now you've got all these video tutorials, you can show people without even opening something, like this is what it does, or the packaging sells it so much better now as well. Like,
and it used to be like it was the joke shop / Halloween costumes, some parachute tricks, and then you say the secret word, and all the real stuff comes out from under the table. Like it was really had that hidden thing. So that's what you need to do now with the Sleight Co, is be like, when people go on first, it just looks like a costume website for like all like Halloween, and then they type in a code and click, and then
I,
it'll
I,
be
like, I can see why some people probably had to do that back in the day just to keep the doors open. Like,
Yeah.
especially you
Of
probably
course.
just couldn't be a magic shop back then. But magic's growing so much now that I reckon, shops like that would do again. So I'd love to know
Yeah,
the
because there's
figures.
staple things that magicians always want, like cards and fundamental stuff
Yeah.
that we all kind of use all the time. And you couldn't even get that for the longest time. So like, if you just had the essentials as well as
Yeah.
like the newest tricks and the merch and all that, that cool stuff as well, it'll definitely build and build and build.
Like when I was growing up, to get a pack of bicycle cards, like it was as if someone was going to America on holiday. You were like, oh, you seen this card? Can you bring them back? Because you're using this old, like, rugged deck that was, used within an inch of its life. And you're only using them because, everyone that you've seen was using bicycle cards. And that's a sort of reason.
Everyone else is
Yeah.
sneaking back cigarettes, and we're like sneaking back like bricks of bicycle cards to get it going.
Yeah.
But it was being like,
And when we
even
come back
like
in the
whole
States one
idea-
time, sorry, I was just in my hand luggage was full of playing cards, full of it, like 50 decks and more, all stacked up. And the security flipping TSA decided they wanted to open some of the decks because, like, why do you have 50 decks cards plus? And I'm like, because I'm a magician. And they're like, oh, really? And then they start opening. They're like, there's just cards in here. And I'm like, I fucking said there's only cards in here, But that was like, we, as magicians in Ireland, we had this. That's happened numerous times. I've missed flights because of that shit. Ask Dave. But it's just that, even just trying to nearly smuggle in bicycle cards. It's just crazy,
Yeah. And I can only see it actually getting worse because we were just talking before there about the new packaging laws as well that the EU are bringing in. So that's going to be a nightmare for, people. So
Yeah, 'cause it's meant to be an exemption for smaller creators, but for Etsy shops and stuff like that, like I'm in the EU and I can't ship to the EU now because I'd have to spend 20 grand registering my packaging in every country. It's like,
yeah,
what?
it's just wild. So
Crazy.
hopefully we fix that soon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They should. I think they're looking like in October, hopefully, to bring in an exemption for people under a certain threshold. So we'll have to wait and see.
Well, that'll definitely be me included anyway in the under threshold. So,
Definitely.
What was the motivation? I said, like you were saying, there wasn't a magic shop in Ireland, and that's one of the reasons you decided to set up the Sleight Co. But what was the sort of impetus that you were like, it's something that you wanted to do yourself to run a magic shop, and like the sort of the brand that you sort of built out of it?
Yeah. Well, during COVID, I started to buy more magic as well. So I obviously started to go to the magic shops online, and it was just they're exactly the same looking as what I remembered from when I started. All them years ago, and they haven't really, evolved that much and changed. So I wanted to maybe just create something that was a bit more like brand heavy as well. So the likes of, I didn't want to go down the dark and moody side like Illusionist or anything, or like Fairy 11, but I wanted that like clean Apple-esque look about like, the website and stuff. And I just wanted everything to be like so well searchable and like so well categorized, because magic stores are notorious for like not being able to find anything. Like you just sifting through one pages. So that's something I really want to try to do. And I thought there's no better person to do it than myself, because my background is in design and software. So that's why I sort of decided to open up that. And hopefully you can sort of see that it is going that way, but it takes a lot of time, unfortunately. So
yeah. So I suppose
I'm just
Brendan, you're making
like,
you're kind of streamlining that kind of clean look. I get what you mean, and I think the magic, it needs that, it needs that clarity, because there's so many tricks now, you know what I mean, and there's so much stuff coming out all the time. It's I'm obviously, for like a younger magician, it's easy to get caught up when I'm just going to buy everything, but like it's very hard to kind of worm your way through that now and find actual good magic, like, because 9 times out of 10 you go back to like an older prop that's been redesigned or something instead of something brand new, because you're nearly guaranteed that the new thing is not going to be that great,
Yeah. And one of the things that I had in my head was more parents band tricks to try and get their kids into magic. I wanted like that, not like, well, like Penguin, but not as childlike as Penguin, but just like a safe looking site. Like if they jumped on the Illusionist and they started seeing some of the stuff that they might be a bit put off about banning their kids' magic. So I wanted to make sure it was, sort of safe for parents that, wanted to maybe protect their children and didn't really know too much about magic, because magic's always had that sort of dark, artsy thing in the background. Like people are a bit unsure about it when it's, it's just a skill.
Yeah.
It's,
When I was like 15, was when I first started buying magic online, and it was like, but that was just when like Penguin Illusionists were really blowing up. And it was like the first Christmas that I knew about those sites. My parents were like, okay, we'll give you a budget. You can buy some stuff. Just tell us
Yeah.
what you want and we'll get it for you for Christmas. So did that, and their credit cards instantly got frozen. And they got a call from the credit card company being like, do you know an illusionist.com? Was that E? And they're like, yes, that was us. And I was like, and a Penguin Magic. And it's like, it's just these weird companies that like they didn't know it. It's like, but like pretty much for the first few years, every time we ordered magic online, they'd be like,
were
oh,
flagged.
that's our credit card frozen again. We got to call up the bank and get it undone.
Yeah.
But it is that sort of thing of like not being recognizable brands and that sort of stuff. But it is parents are buying it, because like even I was 15, I didn't have money to buy magic for myself, so it was birthdays and Christmas and stuff like that I'd be asking my parents for it, and they'd have to do it.
Clean cut, easy site. Like if you go on the mine and someone's really into like Craig Petty stuff, they can literally click on his photo, see his magic. There's no, darksy, artsy type, salesy pitch stuff. It's just hopefully nice, clean cut.
Yeah, for sure.
So the parents, feel safe and ban their kids' magic.
The branding is very cool as well, as you're saying. Like you have the hat that you got. I have one of the t-shirts, which I love, that Chaos in Control t-shirt. And there's obviously mugs and key rings and that sort of stuff too. And something my wife always talks about as well is like, there it is the, like, she always wants to buy like me magic themed gifts. Like not even just buying me a magic trick, but like t-shirts with magician stuff on it, or cup mugs and those sort of things. And it's like, there is actually a very limited selection within magic shops themselves with kind of like cool accessories and merchandise of the thing. So I think like that's an area I've really seen on the cycle. There's only a few things there, but they're all stuff that I would want in that way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and it's something that like I didn't want to just, you can connect your site to these dropshipping sites for merchandise as well without ever seeing it and just putting your logo and stuff. And I didn't want any of that. And the likes of our little mascot as well, like it's all hand illustrated. Like all of them are hand illustrated. Like there's no AI used for any of that and stuff. So I wanted to make sure the quality of like everything was, something I'd be happy with, rather than, getting a t-shirt and it's this badly drawn AI thing on the back of it or something. So,
yeah.
And you'll notice like on the t-shirts, like there's little hidden things in the labels and stuff, and like, bits and pieces like that. So it is.
Yeah, I just found, you just showed me the markings on the ESP Pro coin. So it's like I'm gonna have to go dig my t-shirt out of the wash now and start going through the labels and stuff to find out all these hidden secrets.
Cool. Yeah, that little kind of Easter egg thing is a great idea for a brand.
Yeah. Okay, I think it's really hard because magic has such, if you're in the industry long enough, there's such big brands at the minute. So it's going to be really hard for us to break through. Like, where eventually I don't want to take other people's customers. I want to sort of build their own little side bit. So, because you got like your big Vanishing Inks, you got your Alakazams, you got your Monster Magic, there's Magic Box, there's these monster sites that have been out there for so long and they've got a really good following. And some of them do have like a strong, recognizable name, but I just feel like the branding haven't really done anything more with their brand. So,
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's good to come out from both sides. And is that kind of the goal, to do like conventions and all that kind of stuff in time and all that?
Yeah, definitely. Blackpool's on my bucket list, and then I was actually thinking about doing the Dublin one there. We're still not unsure of whether to cart everything down to Dublin as well, but it's definitely something we want to do. And we've done pop-up shops around Belfast and bits, because we also have huge selection of cards. So I do card shows and stuff and try to get people into magic that way. So that's trying to build our own customers rather than, go after existing customers. So, because once you show someone a magic trick, 9 times out of 10, they'll buy it. So it's an easy sell to someone, really, to be honest. And then that's where their interest takes. So especially
It's like the dealer dem stuff, or the Marvin's Magic back in the day. It was all about that dealer dem and the amount of magicians that went through Marvin's doing that. Yeah, great.
And I think they're the ones that really started all that sort of like good magic packaging, good tutorials. Like they really pioneered all that. Like even their little box was
Definitely.
like a little illusion and stuff. So like he thought about absolutely everything on that.
Yeah, you'd have to get like the Hummer whirling cars going and all that sort of stuff now. It's like the proper like Vegas magic shop stuff to get the tourists going. But it is good to try and get
Have a
like,
chat with Rocco, and he'll set you up with new delights or something.
get it going. But yeah, you want to have that like building your own audience is a big thing. And like for me, I had the situation when like the Brexit came in, because I was ordering from like Penguin or Vanishing, and even though Penguin was in the US, I rarely got caught with customs with them coming in. But then it was because of Brexit, customs was now paying attention to everything. So not only was the stuff from the UK getting customs, but everything from outside of the EU was getting customs and stuff like that. So you always like trying to search around, and like you're trying like a site in Germany, and you're trying all these different things. So like when I saw the Sleight Co thing, I was like, oh yeah, just gonna order from there from now on. That's much, and the shipping's a lot faster, which is great.
And that's a big reason we didn't link our site up to Murphy's and stuff and do the drop shipping route as well. Like we wanted to make sure we had everything on hand,
Yeah.
not just from sending it out fast, but if someone asks me a question about something, like I can actually go look at the package or look at the product and answer the question. There's nothing worse than someone was like, well, I have no idea what that looks like or what size that is or, what it does, whereas I've got everything right here so I can, go hunt it out. I can, video call you about it or like, show you it or answer all your questions. So
It's great. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. And it's only online. You're not doing like a brick and mortar type shop, or you are?
not yet, but I would
Okay.
love to, like, if it, got big enough, but I don't know if Belfast or Northern Ireland would have enough custom, but it might.
Yeah.
But it would have to go down the route of like the trickster magic, the Marvin magic, because if you brought all the pro gear in, like your shop wouldn't survive. I don't think you would need to have that sort of,
Yeah, you have to have
type magic.
definitely.
Because
Yeah.
I actually think
Yeah.
there was a post on Magicians Only, and they went to Disneyland and went to the magic store there,
Yeah.
and they were complaining of how bad it was. And I was like, well, you're
It
not the
was
target
one
audience.
real
Like,
magic there, or yeah.
It's just for
target
beginners.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking to Michael O'Brien about that before briefly. Do you remember he was saying it's a lot of heavy dealer dem stuff, like
But that's what it is. It's for people who come in as their first trick. Because I remember
cool.
years
Yeah.
ago again, there was a magic like tent it was like a Santa experience thing, and there was an area where they had some stalls, and one of them was a magic stall, and they were doing they had the sort of like they had Svengali decks. They had I can't think of the name of it now. The brass thing with the coins in it where they travel through with like little
Dynamic coins.
yeah.
Oh,
They were
yeah.
doing dynamic coins, stuff like that. And I was watching them, and I was like, the guys obviously they weren't magicians with themselves. They'd learned what the package had said and were just doing the basics. I was like, oh, if you do that, you can do that. I was a bit old for the Santa experience, and my younger sister was running around and stuff. I just ended up spending like an hour demming dynamic coins for all these different things. But it's like those sort of areas, as you're saying, with like the pop-up shops that like can start building up, like whether it is just a Svengali deck or those sort of beginner tricks or beginner sets that you want to get out there. That's the sort of stuff that you can build loyal followers. And a lot of people look down on that, but that's how we all got into it in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think like most magicians I would speak to have bought a magic set like eventually somewhere, or a lot of their, it comes from little magic sets and stuff now. So, and YouTube's such a great place now as well. Like once someone gets, he said that does something, they can maybe go to YouTube and say like, all right, I want to learn a different magic trick, and then there's just that whole wealth of knowledge then that unlocks them on YouTube as well. So it's not like the old days just went to the library.
I've got like 2 magic sets above me right now from like one of them was like €2 in the local petrol station. I was like, I'll take that, thanks. Have a look. It's shit. But like I was like, I'm always curious to see what they get. And like they had the 6 cents dice with the senses, and they went to the box, and you can see it. They have one there, but all the boxes are now cardboard. And I'm like, they're cheaping out on the sets. But it's those toy factors, still fun and exciting. It's fun to look at.
You paid €2 for it, Dave. Come on.
My wife paid €2 for it. But that is the thing. It is the excitement of it, of getting people going. And you've teamed up with your podcast that you're doing now. It's the Slightly Twisted podcast.
Yeah.
With Twisted Magic. How did that come around? Because it's interesting seeing like two in like smaller, newer magic shops working together.
Yeah, because technically we are competitors as well. So
yeah,
most people do think it's strange. But when I was setting up that, Luke was one of the first magic shops I sort of came across, and he sort of went the other direction. He is going down that like Fairy 11, mystical, more adult type, shops. So he reached out to me, and then we just started chatting about setting up new shops and how things were going. And then I sort of put across the idea that we need to maybe do content of some description, and I didn't want a review show, and I didn't want to do like a salesy pitch show, but I knew that people wanted to buy maybe from me rather than a faceless company, and we both sort of decided that. And I sort of toyed with the idea of a podcast from two magic shops, and then he said, "Yeah, just absolutely." So, and I already had the name for it and like the branding already done, and I just had to get him on board. So as soon as he was there, I was like, "Oh, here's the logo, here's the intro, here's all this." So we're good to go from the ground, and that's been really good. Like, it's really interesting to have his take on what he's doing as a magic shop, what I'm doing, what he's bringing in, what I'm not bringing in, like that sort of thing. So, and hopefully,
and there's strength in that as well. There's not the competition isn't there. I mean, so much of magic in the industry is very competitive. I mean, even if you're not competitive, it becomes competitive because you people who are being competitive against you, and you might not even know who the fuck they are. But but you don't want that. If you can work together, it builds. Like the amount of people we've had on the podcast just by kind of reaching out to people and just kind of being kind of making the community bigger and better. Unfortunately, sometimes it doesn't happen in the clubs, but it does happen online now.
And we find very quickly, like if I stock something and it's out of stock, they'll jump over to his site and grab it, and vice versa. So
great.
There isn't there's definitely enough, for everyone there and stuff. So, and he's bringing in stuff that like I just won't bring in because I have no interest in it. Whereas like it's a similar side to my side. So we are trying to keep everything very different, but also we do stay in touch quite a bit, and it's just nice to have that person to bounce stuff off. Since like I had just making decisions for the shop, and the same as him, he's maybe like, oh, how did you set up this, or how did you set up that? So,
because as you're saying, there isn't any other magic shops around for us, in the thing, and that it's similar. Like magicians, like we're competitors. If you do gigs, you're competitors, and we all sit down in magic clubs, and like sometimes they can get awkward and stuff like that. If people are going for the same gigs and stuff. But it doesn't stop us like doing podcasts together or all that sort of stuff. So why should it stop shop? And it's that what I really like about it is just seeing that it's like that behind the scenes sort of what it actually takes to run a magic shop. Because me and Steve, we tried it. It was like for a few months, and we realized that it was like, as you're saying, trying to have stuff in stock all the time is really difficult. Having the stuff people want, and then you get a load of stock in, thinking at least we'll have stuff on the website. It's like, oh, nobody wants this shit, so we need to like switch to something else. And it's like. It can really take over your life. And the name is good because we actually originally were almost called ourselves Twisted Reality for a while. Because we didn't think people could spell deceive. Is it IE or EI? Oh no, what are we gonna do?
I know if I thought about that, slight's not the greatest word, because some people can't even pronounce it and say it, and I'm like, oh, it probably wasn't the greatest idea, but I'm gonna have to run with it now. So.
Build on,
but
exactly.
It is that thing. Like, it has taken like the amount of time that it's taken. I don't think I would have started it again if I knew how much hard work it would be. Like, it is a lot of work, And if you're in it for like financial rewards, like there is none yet for me anyway. And we're turning over like a good amount of money, like. Even my account, like we got our accounts done the other week, and like we're a limited company and stuff, so anyone can log on and see like the figures and stuff. So we're very open about that. Like it's a lot of hard work for very little reward that way. So, but you get rewarded in other ways. Like we are building a wee community and stuff. So, bro.
Yeah, we were the same about like we were like, should we order in like 5 of these or should we order in 50 of these? Like what you're kind of playing that gamble all the time. Then you get like a couple of people might want to buy something's hot off the presses kind of shit. We get in, there's like 3 sales of that thing. We're like, oh, let's order more of them, and then that's it. It's dead. No one wants it, you know. And then Ireland is small for that. So like it was only kind of people popping on. Also, it was kind of the start of the pandemic. We were really busy with the podcast and other shit. So it was I don't know, to be 100% honest, we probably weren't all in, and we kind of thought it would just work, and it just didn't, you know. It was a lot more work than I thought it would be anyway, for sure. And then Dave's house was just full of fucking shit he didn't want.
If anyone wants a squeaker, I have my attic is full of squeakers. We have a shit ton of squeakers, neck crackers, thumb tips, loads of them, still up there. Occasionally, when people buy stuff from like the Steve Mines to get like this really cool mentalism release, that I say really cool being myself, but like packaging and like it's real dark mentalism tarot stuff, and then they're just like, have a free squeaker because I just say I'm just trying to get rid of the shit at this stage.
Yeah, then like I still haven't clocked like how to order stuff correctly yet. Like you think something's going to be a real good seller, and it's it's not, and then you think of other stuff. You're like, oh, I only got a few of those in, and it sells straight away, and you're like, oh, should have ordered more of those. It's one of them balancing acts, like, and you do sit with lots of stock around you, which is the downside of doing what we do and making sure we have everything in store rather than.
I thought Dave would have more mentalism with squeakers at this stage, but no, I haven't seen any, to be honest.
It's fucking tough to get a going. But it is a thing of like having the stock. It is obviously the advantages as well that you get your stuff. If you want stuff for yourself, you can just order in a few of them and you can get some stuff wholesale, which can be quite handy. But it's not worth the expense of like having all the other stuff that you need to be doing on top of it. Like, so it is a. And believing magic isn't a money making exercise. It's like a passion project.
Oh, absolutely. But hopefully, we were talking to Alex actually from Monster Magic, and like I thought he would be, living it up large for the amount of orders that he gets every day, and he's like, nope, I'm like the same as you guys. Even though that like the orders are going up, like the revenue at the end of the day and the profits, not going up as much either. So it is a tough business to be in. So
yeah, because people are always looking at shipping and stuff like that, and like I've been like looking at it with my one, just saying out my own stuff. As like people are like, oh, the shipping's so expensive. I'm like, I'm not charging any extra than like what the postal company's charging me. I always think when people go like free shipping on orders over this much, I'm like, but that means it's a really expensive shipping because you have to ship such a big package to someone. So shipping can be killer.
Oh, absolutely. And like people don't realize like the amount like a bubble mailer even costs is the like ridiculous amount. We've got like you've got your label printers as well. Then you've got like I have to go to the post office maybe every day as well. So I'm not lucky enough to have the postman call and collect a big bag yet. So
someday I've had to start doing my own like paying for postage, like printing off the labels myself as well, because there's one woman who works in the post office, and like I don't want to badmouth someone, but she has posted 4 things to me. None of them have arrived at the destination. They've just vanished. And I'm like, one time I found like one thing got returned to me because she typed in the email address that I gave her wrong and stuff, and you're just like, oh my god, this is so like I've just had products out in the ether that like, I've paid for. And I've had to send replacements out as quickly as possible to people. So it's like those are the expenses that you get too, where like shipping messes up a lot. You have to still fulfill the order.
At least you'll know your packages because you can just squeeze them and you hear a squeak from them.
Yeah, exactly. It's probably the postman.
That's one of Dave. That's one of Dave.
No one's gonna order my shit next. Like I don't want to fucking. It's only occasionally when I've gone up to the attic.
Throwing from speakers.
Yeah, to get the stuff going. But I think that the situation is as well of like having unique things for yourself, which is like you see like so many different places now have their own stuff. You have obviously the merchandise stuff. You have the ESP coins and those sort of things. Are you looking to expand that sort of like own brand sort of tricks or releases or that sort of stuff?
Yeah, so we've got like a new one coming up as well. So like it's called Departures. And it's sort of like just a little mentalism routine and stuff. So we've worked on that. So it's coming out soon as well. But yeah, I would love to get into manufacturing for other people because now I've got sort of all that manufacturing links set up. That was something I wanted to do really early on, is to get all those links set up and the trust of like I know who to go to now for like, a good quality box, because I think magicians now, like if you're ordering a product, you want it to come in that like penguin-esque looking box,
Sure.
you want to have like one of the big things was even just to get the foam. Like that was an absolute nightmare. So once I get all those little pieces of the puzzle put together, it means I can just start producing for myself and other people. So I have tons of ideas. Like it's just getting
It's
which
great, man.
ones.
It definitely seems like you're starting from the right place. You know what I mean? You're not trying to steamroll it ahead or whatever. You're creating
Yeah.
your own logos. You're taking time and energy, obviously with your background with the branding and everything else. So yeah, it definitely seems to be like the way to go forward for sure.
I know because there's a lot of magic now coming out, which does seem quite heavy on AI. And like,
Yeah.
I love AI. Like, I
Mm.
use it every day. Like, especially as like doing software and stuff. Like, it saves so much time, even for copywriting. Like, if you write a wee bit, it can sort of point you in the right direction. But I hate people that just say like, write me a blog article on this, or design me this, or I just don't think it's the right way to go for.
Yeah,
Especially for
One of the ways,
magic.
one of the ways I found it is like I've got blogs for my thing, and I do a blog after every gig I do, and
Yeah.
but the way I work with it, because I do software, my wife does software stuff as well, so we've it set up now that I have a shortcut on my phone that I can just start speaking into the shortcut, talk about the gig, what happened, what went well, where it was, select some photos on my phone, and that sends it to my repository where my code is. And then when I get home, I can run an AI thing that will transcribe my talking and put that into a blog.
Yeah.
But it's usually bad. Like it's usually like there's okay, but it's misinterpreted stuff. It's messed up spelling of, especially if I'm saying Irish people's names. It's not
Yeah.
going to do great at that. So you then have to go back through and go, that doesn't sound human. I'm going to fix that. And it's a great time saver. And it is better than just going write a blog about my gig, because it is writing a blog from my own transcript,
Yeah.
which is a great way to use it. But then even then it still needs a human to go back over and make sure it makes sense and it hasn't exaggerated or gone mad.
I think a lot of people are using it like a soundboard too, like a proof of concept kind of thing. I know people are in scripts and stuff like that, and they use it for that, and they go, "Oh, that's good. That's something maybe I didn't think of. Let me adapt that now. So yeah, I think if you just like copy paste and bang, it's gonna look like AI. But if you use it as an actual tool, and and then put your own take on it or whatever, I think it's extremely useful. But man, yeah, like we've joked around with the create a magic trick or whatever, and it's always shit. You know what I mean? It's just like place it on the table, it'll vanish. Will it? Okay, let's see that then. You know what I mean? We're cemented. It'll just vanish. So
Yeah, it just worries me. That's why I don't want my shop to just be these AI images of like all these tricks, like like maybe like $1, and it looks like it's melting into this, because that's not what the person's going to see either. So like, just
yeah,
show me the packaging, or like, to try and make something
yeah.
that's not. So it does worry me, that sort of
E-
side. More
Even
magicians
Banachek
are
was talking about that, about the amount of magic out now that you have to like literally scrape through it to find anything that's good. But and he was like, years ago, you would just save up to buy the trick that you knew was good, and that was it. There was no distraction. Obviously things change and things change, and a lot of technology, magic, and a lot of apps and all that kind of stuff too. But I still think people will kind of gravitate towards solid branding and knowing what the thing does.
Yeah. And I don't mind other people using it, because then it makes our stuff stand out when it is done right.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
People just need to be educated on what to look out for. For that, when you're loading up your site, is there like criteria? Is it just like you're looking for like good commercial, it's like as you're saying, kid friendly or parent friendly type stuff as well? Or is it like from like an ethos of the shop? Is it like a general magic and not going like too mentalism-y or too
yeah, I
one
think
way or the other?
yeah, just generals. I want it just to be like a general store. I don't want to, lean too much, because I think there's other sites out there that are going to really lean into that anyway. So you've got like the fourth floor Lloyd's ones, like
Yeah.
it's going down that whole like really professional looking magic just for like the top of the top stuff, whereas I still want to sell like, the fun tips and the little
Yeah.
beginner bits and bobs people might want, or the rope, or, a few decks of cards here and there.
Perishables are a thing that like is very hard to find in magic shops these days. As you're saying that like I use the Penguin Mark deck a lot, so like that's
Yeah.
the only deck I use. So it's like I just buy bricks of them in, and it is the thing that's like that's gone at the end of a gig. Like that's not making it 2 gigs of luck and make it through one. So, but that's the same for any decks. But then it's like they're buried on the back of some website. It's like, where are the bicycle decks? And sometimes I've been on the sites and I search like bicycle deck, and it's like double face or double backer, blank face, and you're just like, I just want a deck. Where's just a deck? Can I just not get that? It's like at the bottom of the list.
Yeah, so that's something we're sort of looking at the setting up is maybe an account for people that maybe, like yourself, maybe you always use Penguin decks. So ideally, eventually, I'd love you to be able to go, this is what I use gig to gig, and I need it like twice a month. And then we could just be sending that out to you twice a month. So if you need that brick of mark cards, we could just send that out, once a month to you, and you wouldn't even need to think about it then. So that's a sort of, especially for working professionals, I think that's a really good area to explore, because then it just takes the need out of for you to go back in and order.
You just know what, kind of like a retainer kind of thing, just rolls over.
Yeah.
Great idea.
And everything's going subscription rates for
Sure.
Amazon have you subscribe and save. So, and if I know I can bring an extra brick in every month, for yourself, it just makes life easier for me as well. So it means when you come to order, it's always there for you, rather than you having to go elsewhere then.
Yeah, for sure. It's even that thing of just having like the things that you're going to be ordering. Like if you're a rope magician, you're cutting rope all the time, and just being like, that's like one of
The
your favorite
rope is hard
items.
to get. I use it for like the escape stuff as well, and cutting the store rope and all that kind of stuff. And obviously there's different kind of ropes, but like if you're going looking for ropes, for example, if you want to do an escape and you want to find ropes, you've got to go to like a yacht place, a boating supply, shipping supply, or whatever. You can't just buy rope. You can go to like a hardware shop or a co-op shop, but it's not what you need. It's not what you actually could use.
And then you have to try and take
so-
the core out of it and stuff. And if
Yeah,
if you're
absolutely. Well, people
all
don't
the
think of
time.
that, and then they do an escape and it could get fucked up or whatever because they don't know, they're not using the right thing or whatever. So
Yeah.
I mean, even that side of things, people don't think of something simple as rope, cards, coins, whatever, fundamental stuff that we all use all the time.
And the amount of like magicians that I've seen that maybe don't change their deck after every gig, like I think you're getting paid like to do that. Just open like a fresh deck and have it nice and clean, for your audience and stuff. Sometimes I've seen people maybe used like this deck and it's all brown around the edges, and just it's not good either. A lot of people put cards in their mouths with germs, and like
Yeah.
as magicians, our like outlay for a gig is very little. Like tools wise, we're not spending a fortune. So £2 or £3 on a hard card.
It adds to the performance as well. That like if this is your one and only deck, and you're like, I don't want it ripped, I don't want it damaged. I might get it signed and I might not. It's like you're being very precious. You're not putting it down the table in case it's a bit wet. And now people are suspicious of a regular deck of cards for no reason. While if you're like I use a mark deck, and they're quite obviously marked. People can see the markings from a mile away. But like I'll rip them up, I'll throw them on the table if the table's wet. I don't, because I know they're going to be in the bin in an hour. So it's like it doesn't matter, and then that takes the suspicion away. Well, someone else who's not using a mark deck but treating it like this is my deck for the year or the month, they're going to then people are going to be more suspicious of the deck just because you're taking care of something that shouldn't matter.
Yeah. It shouldn't feel like it. Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Magicians are sort of weird creatures, I always find, because like they would be upset as well if like a deck's not a bicycle deck. They wouldn't use it for certain things, whereas the audience never knows like the difference. It's the same as like if a gimmick marker is not a Sharpie, they're like, oh, I won't get it because it's not a Sharpie. It's like that's just a magician thing rather than a everyday thing.
I'm the opposite. I go looking for markers that aren't Sharpies because it's I just like stuff that look even more everyday. Like I borrowed off the table or whatever, because I used to have a rule of thumb when I did a lot of nightclubs years ago. was when I was down to about 35, 40 cards. I was like, okay, it's time to do card through a window. And then I just fuck the deck off a window and then I'm done. Good luck, And then you're done and that's it. And then you're not being precious about the deck. The deck is just the deck,
Yeah.
Are you back doing gigging and stuff like that yourself now after falling out of it?
No, so I never really gigged. I'd done like close-up competitions and bits and pieces with the club that way. But I would very much class myself as a hobbyist magician. Like,
Yeah.
I do it for friends, family, or from, out and about. And I sort of call myself a pub magician, even though I don't go to the pub that often. But
Yeah.
like, that's the sort of magic I would do. Like, just the sort of that sort of side of stuff.
That's cool.
No.
That's like
And I think it's-
where the real passion comes from it as well. That like
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
early on I did want to be a professional magician, I think, but I think it would just take the love of, and it would take another hobby away from me. So, and I want to very much keep it as a hobby. So,
That's
a lot of
sort of
people fall out of love with magic for that reason.
yeah. Like me and Steve always
Sure.
talk about that. Like when we're performing, that like sometimes I'm performing stuff that I know is good, and it might be all stuff I've done for years and stuff like that. But it's like I find the stuff that I perform a bit separate from my hobby in a way that it's like you have to kind of have some sort of barrier. That there's like some tricks that like are my hobby. Like I mess around with coins quite a bit, but I don't do coin magic. I'm not good at coin magic. I wear rings all the time. They click and that sort of stuff. So I'm like, I'm never going to do it professionally that much unless it's something heavily gimmicked. But like I'll sit at my desk and I'll play with coins and do some classic. So it's like so that's my
Yeah.
hobby, or like some really strong. Like I'll work on my pass for ages and then I'll never do a pass at a gig. And it's about having that sort of differentiation between what your hobby is. And like when I do stage shows for the public and stuff like that, that's my hobby because like I don't care about the money for it. I can be as artsy and whatever I want and not have to be like my corporate trade show. But if you get caught up in that, it will kill your hobby.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And even our local club, like the hobbyists, you can actually see them having, when they're performing, way more fun than the professional magicians who rarely get up and perform at our club. Like it's always the hobbyists, and the hobbyists are always like, "Oh, look at this brand new thing! I'm working on this, doing this." Whereas the professionals sometimes are just stuck in there. I've been doing this for 25 years, and
They've gone into
anything.
grumpy old bastard mode.
Yeah. So, and that's
We
what
all
I'm
know
really
them.
excited for our club because that's how it is changing. It's filled with hobbyists and really enthusiastic people that want to
Yeah.
sit down and show each other tricks and jam. And like when I first joined all them years ago, there was no such thing as like jamming as magicians and showing each other wee bits and doing that. We're very much now that's what it's all about, which is amazing to see.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have to go up.
Yeah,
I
you need
heard
more of that.
good
That
things
sense of
about it.
community is one.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've heard some good things about the Belfast Club. Even like you had Lloyd over lecturing last year. I was meant to be there. My car broke down on the way. That was fun.
Yeah.
And so,
Had
but it's like
Christian Grant over. They've had,
yeah.
I had Laura London. Like, yeah, it's been
Cool.
really good.
Yeah, we just need to get the flight from Cork back up to Belfast, so I don't have to drive 5 hours. Great. But yeah, like it is cool to have that sort of thing and go experience it because like it's really Belfast and Dublin are the only two clubs, like big clubs on the island. There's a small group in Cork, but it's not really an official club. It's just more magicians hanging out. And there was one in Limerick before as well, but I don't think they do much either anymore.
The
So
biggest one in the country was in Limerick at one stage, like in the 80s, 90s, granted. And they had everyone over. They used to have the biggest convention and everything. But yeah, it was like I was kind of into magic early enough at that stage. So I didn't really, but the heyday, you'd always hear the guys like, oh, we'd Harry Blackstone over and we'd fucking this, that, and the other. And you're just like, no way, But yeah, it was huge down here. The Munster Society of Magicians used to really go all out and collaborate with all the other clubs to do these big shows. But I don't know, I suppose
Yeah, and I
maybe
think
that.
like the island is so small that all them clubs could come together and do like a big convention. Whereas, you get everyone together and sort of do that sort of collaborative thing, which would be amazing.
yeah, because it's like we've half the population of like Manchester, so it's like we're not like it's that thing is like it's not that that's where like there's fewer people and stuff. Because there was the Southern Brotherhood that I first joined in Cork. We did Magic on Cork convention for a while, and it used to like rotate. That it was like 1 year it was in Belfast, then in Dublin, then in Cork, and rotating back that way. But then it's like people had loads of kids, didn't have time, and that sort of stuff. And then like it's just a few of the older people retired who were like that running the club and that sort of stuff. So it can be tough to keep it going because it is a thing, and trying to find a niche that suits everyone can be.
Yeah. I think that's why like online has and YouTube and stuff has helped magic massively. Like even when I was in school, there's maybe like in the whole school 2-3 people who were maybe slightly interested in magic, if even. So whereas now you can go online and find a community really quickly and stuff, and then it'll keep your interest piqued. Because if you're just sitting by yourself doing magic in the house and stuff, not having anyone to speak to about it, or you will lose a passion really quickly and pick up something else maybe. So
Yeah.
Those
It's even
communities
my wife always talks about like with Blackpool is that like she's like trying to explain it to a friend first. So we only started going like the last 4 years, and they're like, "Why is he always talking about that thing like 6 months out, like planning it and stuff?" And she's like, "Just we all hang out like doing photography or like all the other hobbies," and she's like, "That's the only time he sees like thousands of people who share his interest." So it is that sort of like it's a wild feeling when you're.
You only go to Blackpool to try to sell people squeakers, though.
Yeah.
Get rid of those squeakers.
It's just my bag, I like squeak, squeak, squeak as I go through it. I should just set up a stand and just squeakers.
Just squeakers.
Just squeakers again. And then I'll have the occasional neckcracker. But it is, I think, is like it is such a small community. And that's the one thing that I love is that like you can meet anyone. Like there's people who are like big names and like you can just hang out with them at the bar and have a chat, and we're all just nerdy people who like card tricks.
Yeah, exactly. And like a lot of the top magicians, like even that's not their full-time jobs. A lot of them are like doctors, lawyers, like, some of the big names in magic, that's not their full-time gig, which is amazing. Like you don't really get that in many other genres and stuff. I think it's great.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. It just shows that it's a real passion. And then like when you are doing that sort of like pub magic sort of performance, what are like your sort of go-to tricks at the moment or style that you like portraying?
the likes of like at the minute I'm playing with Mark Mason's like Sharpie free card, that sort of
That's
thing. I'm playing with Mark Evans X-ray envelopes. We've seen those. They'll be rare straight.
Oh, yeah.
They're very cool.
Like we've just got them on the site and they're like unreal. I've never seen anything so good. But yeah, that sort of stuff. And then we've just got a lot of coins and stuff. So gimmick coins I'm starting to look back at. Like the old coin and bottle and stuff. So I'm sort of trying to bring stuff in that first I want to do, and then that means I can put it into the shop as well, like sort of that old classic magic as well. So like all their old Richard Sanders stuff, like Ace and any card, like all those stuff has sort of been hidden away because all this fancy new magic's come out, and some of the old stuff's really amazing.
Yeah, it's gold.
It's all these young people coming into magic now who've like come in the last like since COVID or just before, and it's like these legends that we all know, but they haven't released something in a while that like these people don't know about. Like they don't know about maybe all the Richard Sanders stuff, or like Jay Sankey is another one who like he just releases stuff himself now. It's not like stuff, but if you look back at the whole thing, and like we've talked about, like it's probably worth saying rest in peace to Juan Tamara's who just passed away recently, but we're just saying that like his books are like insane. There's like Max Maven stuff, and there's all this sort of things that are there that people need to like go explore and just not always go for the new thing. And it's nice to see like shops like yourself and like Penguin re-advertise stuff quite a bit that's older. And it's important to keep these things going, that like just because a trick it was popular 10 years ago doesn't mean we need to move on, or 20 years ago. It's like new people should learn that too, because we're still gigging that stuff.
And a lot of magicians, that really upsets them too sometimes when they see like an old trick repackaged and they're like, oh, this is just like Max Maven's trick, in a new, shiny new box. And it's like, well, it's not really for you. It's for the new people coming in. They just updated maybe the video tutorials, made it, a wee bit more easy to understand, and maybe made the props slightly better. But, it's still a great piece of magic as well.
Yeah, like Mark Mason's collection's coming out now with Penguin. They've just bought the whole lot. So there's going to be so much of that stuff that like a lot of people have just never seen. Even people who've been for a while might have missed it. So like just getting that big explosion of that stuff, and it's gonna blow. Like,
There
it's
was a
gonna be
whole
new people going like, "What is this trick?" I'm like, "I know, right?"
Yeah. There was a whole back catalog of stuff that the late Mark Southworth had put together for Mark Mason. And like, I mean, obviously with Double Cross and everything else, there's loads of, I know because he told me certain ones he consulted for me a couple of times, and there was hidden gems that he had literally like his bottom drawer, and they haven't seen the light of day, and they do exist in that Mark Mason kind of world. They're just hidden, you know. It's mad to think that that magic is kind of it's
Yeah.
you know, no pun or anything, but like it is dead and gone if it isn't like given a, you know, spark of life every now and again, you know.
Yeah. And people, like, less people are picking up books now as well. So like some of the, even, you know, going through the old books and producing the trick, maybe like back in my day, I would have had to read it and maybe try and produce the gimmick. Whereas now
Yeah,
they can make them, you know, easily
yeah.
and then sell as a packaged up trick. So
Yeah, for
I
sure.
don't
I
That
like
was a
also
great
find it though.
I don't
Go
miss
on,
the
sorry.
days of the DIY magic, you know, at
I'm so
all.
bad
Yeah,
at
yeah.
DIY stuff. I like you get an invisible thread and a piece of paper. I'm like, oh crap, I can't do this. But I always find like I always go on holidays and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna bring a magic book with me now, and I sit down and read it. But it's so a magic book isn't something you can just sit down and read. And like I'd be at the side of the pool and I'd read like one trick and I'm like, I've got to go get my deck, and then it's like the book goes away and I just play with that trick for the next 2 weeks. And I'm like, my wife's like, you bought that book and you read like 4 pages. I'm like, yeah, but the trick in it was really good. I was like, you're never going to get through the whole thing of it. It can be
Yeah.
just so going, or they can be incredibly boring if the stuff's not in there too. And it's like, okay,
There was a
what
whole
does it?
surge of that for a while. Remember, like where everyone was nearly performing like Gregory Wilson or because of On the Spot or whatever. You know, but at least I think if you have a book, if you interpret it either the correct way that the magician wrote it or the way you interpret it can either be your trick or a new trick or the actual trick or whatever, or a variation of both. But I think if you actually read it, where if you just see it straight off from a DVD or download or whatever, then that's the only way you're going to see that trick. You're going to go, that's the gimmick and that's how it works and that's it. You know, it's very hard, I think, for younger magicians to think outside that box because they don't have the experience. So then you just have people floating around like whoever, and there's a lot of that imitation stuff. You know.
Yeah, especially if you see someone's presentation, sometimes it's hard to get that out of your head.
Oh,
And
it's
like,
so hard to break.
you know, or you think, oh, that
I saw
line's
guys
great.
in competitions that would be like word for word Gregory Wilson. I was like, unfortunately, you're not 6'2" and American, you know. You're a pasty Irish lad making a ball of a trick. But there is that imitation side of it where I think if you read it from a book, you're going to interpret it a little bit differently. But like you said, people aren't reading as much and things like that with books. But every now and again, like books come out and they're like there's gems and then you kind of figure out that like one download is one trick, but then a book could be 80 tricks, and any one of those could be in a good download, you know.
Yeah. And the chances are, if you're wanting to like fool a magician, there's a trick on a book that can do it easily. You know, because
Definitely.
that is sort of the
Yeah.
underground stuff that people aren't exploring just as much. You know,
There's a great example of that on it's on Scam School, and it was the trick that Joe Diamond did on Fool Us. He went on and taught it on Scam School, and Brian Brusher was like, okay, he performed again. He's like, oh, I'm fried. He's like, how to do that? And he's like, can I go to your bookshelf there? And he's like, yeah. So he walked over, picked the book off Brian Brushwood's bookshelf, and went, page 42, that's the method. And he's like, he just fried him with a trick that was on the book, in the book that he had like just beside him the whole time. So it's like, it's that sort of stuff's great. It just shows, but there's so many tricks you just forget them and stuff like that as well. I tried listing all the card tricks I knew one day because I was doing like a few card tricks and I was like, oh, I can't think of another one. And then I was like, I'm gonna make a list on my phone of all the card tricks I know. And I was like, you forget more than you actually know. Like,
Dave could be on the way to a gig, or I could be on the way to a gig, and we just like make sure now you do the biddle trick tonight at least once, because it's one of those tricks that everyone forgets. But it's a great fucking trick. Anytime you do it, it kills always. And it's just one of those ones you always forget.
but magic's so like I've never seen an industry so fast paced. Like just to keep up with it is insane. Like there's just new stuff every day, and like I don't know how to keep up, and I don't know how like other shops and stuff keep up, and never mind as a consumer, you know, it can be overwhelming. It's overwhelming time. Like every time I go on YouTube, there's like at least 6 videos I need to watch of like new stuff coming out. It's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. New releases nonstop. Yeah.
Yeah. And unfortunately, like I need to be on the pulse of it because someone messaged me saying, "Are you getting that new Mark Mason trick?" I can't be like, "What's this? Show me in," or no,
Yeah,
I need to be
yeah,
like, "Yes,
yeah.
Tuesday." You know, so it is a lot. But
Because it's
Yeah.
Sucker Punch Revolution.
magic?
Oh, I buy a shit ton. I buy too much magic.
I still buy some, but it's more like stuff that I need for a show or something that something that I can adapt or make work. The kind of days of just buying stuff, unless it's like Blackpool, just buying random shit, are kind of gone. But Dave does that the whole time.
I'm like, because I have like the day job that pays like the mortgage stuff, and then my magic money I just use, and then I need to pay tax on that, so I need expenses. So it's like, ooh, I did a gig. Time to go buy some expenses. But it's like I always like, yeah, it's like because like Bankable was one of the recent things I picked up, which is really cool. I really like that, and
it's one of those tricks that I just wish I came up with.
oh, it's so clever. What annoyed me is I saw it from like the back of the crowd on like the first morning at Blackpool, and a guy was demoing it. And I was like, eh. And I just carried on. And then I saw it again later, and I was like, oh my god, that was sick. What was I thinking? I was like, I was just in like the haze of the first morning, and then by the time I went back, it was just it was
I think
just
it's one of those ones I would come up with and be like, "Nah, it's far too simple. I'm not."
yeah.
And then throw it away. But see, when you see it's actually performed and how it works, yeah, it's an unreal bit of magic, I think.
Yeah. It sounds bad when you say it, but sometimes like even before I put out the Coda thing with 1914, I wasn't like I didn't think I had anything that I'd want to release, so it would be at that level. And then you have seeing other people's releases, and not that they're bad or something, but you're going like, well, if that can get released, then this thing is probably able to as well, or like people might actually like this thing because people really like that thing, and like you can start having imposter syndrome so early that like you're like, oh, this creation isn't good enough. But the best thing to do is just show as many magicians
Absolutely, yeah.
it. And if
Yeah,
they're
because
like,
I remember
how
you were
can I-
really, really working Coda, and it was becoming really part of your solid set. And I was like, you can explain this to people, and you can, pitch this. This is a good trick. You're doing this all the time. So you had done the 1,000 hours kind of thing where you knew it was a good trick, where it wasn't just like you just released a trick and that was it. You know what I mean? I think it does so many releases now. There's no way all of them are being worked in as actual workers.
Yeah.
Even if they say I've
made
been
that
doing it for
morning.
5 years, and like, no, you haven't.
Yeah, made that morning, released that afternoon type stuff.
Yeah, I made it yesterday. Yeah, my 3D printer.
Yeah, that especially with app stuff now, as we were saying with AI, there's so many like absolute shit apps out there at the moment.
Yeah.
Because anyone can make one now, because you can just go to Claude and be like, hey, build me this app. Like I have apps that like I use all the time. They're my like go-to tricks, but it's always the thing at the end of like, do I want to spend my life supporting people in Facebook groups being like, how would you take a screenshot? It's like, or like, oh, it's broken on my iPhone 8 or my iPod doesn't load it. And you're like, well.
And I think if you're building an app like in Claude or something for yourself, I think that's absolutely fine. Like keep it for yourself. Like everything doesn't need to be, pushed out to the masses or give it out for free if it's something like that. Like if it took you 20 minutes in Claude, just give it out to the community. So.
What annoyed me is I built an app for myself, and it took me a few weeks of like hand coding it, because this was like 10 years ago, and I was just like building it, getting it all working. I was very happy with it, and I was like, oh, I should probably build it so I customize it, because it's got screenshots. And I was like, I should customize it so other people can use it too. And I was like, oh, I just can't spend like 2 weeks fucking doing this shit. And then I loaded it up with Copilot the other day, and was just like, oh, I did it in 5 minutes. Okay, yeah. It took my code and made it completely customizable in 5 minutes. That thing that I've been like procrastinating doing myself. So that's where it's very handy. It's like I had the pain of building it, actually coding it, the logic and all like that sort of stuff, which is I still find fun. I love coding logic. So you don't want to lose that a bit with AI in that sort of way.
And unfortunately, the AI just does for coding that way. It normally does it much better, And I don't know, like, if people know much about, like, when I was doing software development, I was basically doing what ChatGPT does, just there's a website called Stack Overflow.
Yeah.
And that's what I was literally doing, like, day to day, was copying and pasting other people's code. But it was just taking me maybe, 4 weeks to do it rather than
you
one or
copy
2
and
minutes.
adapt. I remember
Yeah.
I worked for a company and the IT companies blocked Stack Overflow from being accessible. And me and the other developers just were standing in the canteen being like, I don't know how to work. Like, how am I meant to do my job? Like, Stack Overflow is not there. So yeah, like Stack Overflow was just copy and paste and get it going. Which coding has just been copying and pasting for a very long time. It's just changing where you're doing it from.
Yeah. So, but magic apps are in a strange position for me because I like some of them, and then I just think maybe we're getting too many of them now, and I would love people to concentrate more on other things rather than apps because I don't want all the good brains going to apps rather than like physical stuff and physical magic because people spend enough time looking at phones at the minute. Like if you're out at a gig and bringing out a phone, like I think it's not as good as just showing them something.
I just think now as well with like AI the way it's going, and people know, and people have like state of the art phones themselves and whatever, and they know they can make apps and shit, and they can do, you know what I mean? I just think if you do a magic trick on a phone, I think that, I don't know, there's something. Anytime I perform something like that, I always feel like it's a little bit like, yeah, it's just my phone. You know what I mean? It almost like the illusionist where it's just the box. I think where new magicians maybe aren't putting work into sleight of hand and whatever because they have the app or they have the whatever. But I think I've seen performers go on stage relying on an iPad or a peak device or whatever, and the fucking ink battery goes or whatever, and they're just there, excuse the language, but with their dick in their hand with no way of doing a billet switch, no way of doing anything,
Yeah.
And where to walk off stage technically failed because your app crashed or whatever the fuck. So like,
I love the way you're like,
always,
there's this fucking magician on stage and this thing just went to shit. It's completely fucked up. But pardon my language, he had his dick in his hand. Anyway, it was completely fucked. It's like the dick was the bit you apologized for, but the amount of fucks leading up to the press.
we curse on here. This is our thing. It's my thing. I can't stop. But it just means I'm trustworthy.
I've always loved strange props. Like if a magician comes and was like, I have this little like weird box, like that intrigues me way more than someone bringing out a phone. Like,
yeah,
and it's not weird for a magician to carry, especially if you're a paid magician doing gigs. Like, it's not weird that you're carrying props. Like, I've always said, if I hire a magician and he has a suitcase full of props, like that's what I want to see, rather than just picking stuff off the table or whatnot. Like, I want to see all the unusual stuff. So it's like an illusion going up and not having illusions. Of course he's going to have illusions.
Just come up and have a chat with you about illusions. I used to do this trick with this box. Like, oh yeah, can I see it? No.
Give me your chair there. Or
I think that's part of the intrigue of it, though. That's part of the intrigue that draws people in. It's like the old traveling performer or whatever. You got your bag of tricks. I mean, I think if we lose that in magic, I think it's gonna, like, if it's all on your phone or it's all on your. I think I know there's a whole age of digital magicians now doing stuff and whatever. And David Penn does a lot of stuff. But I still think genuine reaction of something happening in a spectator's hand is going to kill any app or anything else.
It's also that thing of like having, like, I always have weird stuff in my house just because like people coming to a magician's house. So like I have like a freak show sign behind me. I have a welcome to the show sculpting that I got. They were Halloween decorations, but now they live in my house forever. But I also like I have Cuban bottle. I took one of the Cuban bottle handouts that's just on my shelf in my living room. I have different like the boxes that go inside each other, the light heavy boxes, an arrow that's pointing one way, but then the reflection is pointing the other way. It's all these little things that are just like, they're just oddities in a way.
Yeah.
That like, it just builds the whole thing that like you're a magician. And it's also, I'm living in a more creative space then because of it. Because like when I'm watching TV, I look over, I see a cube and a bottle. I'm like, that's not a norm.
I've always loved Andy Nyman's Free Skulls and a Spike. Like, I just think, I just think that's great. Like, it's a great prop. It's something like, I don't think it'll be strange if we brought that out like at a parlor show or a gig, like, because people are just going to be like, what is he about to do with this? Like, what is this? And it's, I don't know, it brings real intrigue rather than, bringing out your phone and being like, pick 3 objects on my phone, or,
It's a thing as well as like the magic in or like physical in, physical out wasn't like, I've heard like Lloyd talk about Pete Turner stuff about it and stuff like that. Where it's that thing is that like if the trick starts on the phone and needs to end in real life, and if you're going to end on the phone, a load of stuff needs to happen in real life first. That like the predictions on the phone or just something like that. But it needs to be, or it's like, oh, let's work out a number here, and then like, oh, we have the number now. Let's go away. So at the end of it, they forget they ever used the phone. So that's sort of the way it's like you want it to be.
Yeah.
Because people can't forget a phone was involved if it's done right. Because it's like if people go back to memories of being like, oh, the last time you went out for a picnic with your family or went to the beach. And in your memory, nobody's sitting there on their phone, but somebody probably was. It's just like we all just have them on our hands all the time anyway. So you can't mess
Like
with it.
even digital force bag, like I'd much prefer just like a blank Svengali deck with things written on it than digital force bag. Like it's just
I just bought this from the Sleight Co.
oh shit.
There you go.
But yeah, that like I'd much rather have that. You know,
One thing with that as well, if you're using this blank Svengali and you don't have anything written on it and decide to mix them, long, short, because they show up separated, mix them, then put it down and forget which orientation it is. It can be a pain researching because they're very subtly Svengali. And I was there just being like, yeah, that one. Yeah, that's a long one. Okay. Because I accidentally shuffled it and was like,
or you can put some roughing fluid on it and make a mirage as well, which is like you can just spread them out and show. So, but yeah, I think that's much more intriguing as well. Like, oh, look at all these different cities, rather than pick a number. Here's my phone. Scroll, because as soon as you do that, someone's going to be like, his phone changed something. His phone did, you know.
Yeah.
Or
That's what
you have
I
a
think.
card. Like people are like, he showed me all the cards that were absolutely all different. Like I could have chosen any of those. What happens if I
You can remember a story with like I was on a flight and I just started writing down on these cards that I had all the places I visited, these little cities or whatever. You know what I mean? It like where you're not going to go. I was on my phone and I made a list of 100 cities. Like, you know, I don't know. I think it's less likely.
Maybe that's just an age thing for me. Maybe I'm just an old magician. Need to get out.
Yeah. We're old magicians now. We're becoming the grumpy old bastards. Great.
It's about presentation as well. I think like if you look at Pete Turner had a great digital horseback thing. It's on one of his YouTube videos. I think it's one of his asking things that goes through it, so you can check it out there. But it's basically a situation where you get a whole table or a whole room involved in it, and they can all see that if they had been involved, they would have been wrong. And this is the only way I use it now because it does justify that thing of like, oh my god, like I would have been wrong, you would have been wrong, and it just makes the whole thing make sense. With that sort of one, or there was another one that I really liked. Someone said where it's like you just do 1 to 59, and you're having a conversation with someone and go, whenever you want, just say now, but I will carry on and just have the conversation, and they'll just go now, and you go, oh, it's what time is it? And they'll be like, oh, it's 49 minutes past 2. So you go, oh, 49, open it up, and you have a thing of when they will say it. And at all the other ones, it's like, not now. And then at 49, it's like, they'll say, and stop it now. It's just like this moment that is like, you've predicted this thing out in the world, which can be a fun way to do it. But like, you could do something like that with like, almost like a quantum decky style thing.
Yeah. And I think it would be more impactful because someone will be like, oh, I said that. And it maybe heard my voice and it changed it. And, you know, people are so savvy now, like they know, like, you know, all these home automations and stuff that can happen. So, like, I think going back analog just completely fries people.
Yeah,
you know,
make them stand out.
Like if you second did the blank deck and just had, you know, the now on the 49, you know, people would just be like, oh, how'd he do that? Like,
no. I got that recently as well, the sketch artist, another great analog trick.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing. And that's something that we're really trying to push as well as independent artists as well on our site. Like, we're looking for as many as possible. Like, we want to be that one-stop shop for all the independents as well. So the likes of Down and Out, like I have like his IMDb deck.
Oh, they're so good.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, it's a great day.
Yeah.
As soon as we saw that, I was like, great. That's a worker and a half.
I want that just instead of using digital force bag, like
you
know, rather than just doing movies. Because as soon as you want to force something, that's one of the things you look at is your phone and be like, I could just do it quickly, but just having those is just way more interesting. So
yeah,
absolutely. But for people, if they want to keep up to date with you, we'll put the links to the Sleight Co and the Slightly Twisted podcast in the description, so people can go check all that stuff. But you all over socials and stuff like that too, if they want to. Link
Yeah,
up.
we're on Instagram, Facebook's probably the main one, and then we've recently launched on Discord. We've got a thing called the Syndicate, so it's basically where anyone that buys something from the Sleight Co, you'll get points, and then you'll be able to spend your points within the Syndicate as well. So like we're going to have little missions in there as well, of like maybe coming up with a trick or an idea, or if you help with magicians, then you can earn points that way. So you don't actually need to buy anything to earn points. So, and the points can be redeemed as physical products then at the end of the day and stuff. So it's to try and grow that sort of community as well, and to help those that maybe don't have, disposable income. They can still earn points and buy new magic and do stuff that way.
That's very cool.
Great for newbie, beginners. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely recommend everyone go check it out. The podcast in the shop, buy some stuff, get the t-shirts. It's sick. Get it going. But we try. Thanks, Allan, for coming on. We really appreciate your time and everything. And I'll definitely be doing more orders on the Sleight Co anyway, because
thank you.
I think
Thank you very much, guys, for having me as well. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
to
pleasure, man.
for Irish magicians, anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it, yeah.
We're taking over.
Yeah, taking over. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, everyone, and we'll be back
Okay.
again with the next podcast in a few months, probably. See you
All the
later.
best.